Okay, well, welcome once again to the Soulseekers podcast, where I meet with people who have found their life purpose and are living it. And it's my pleasure to welcome Joe Edwards, my co conspirator on the Awaken Your Inner Power retreat coming up this November. And so I'm going to start by asking Joe. You've been a therapist for 28 years, Joe. How did that start for you?
Oh, wow. I say really it was by accident, actually, to be honest. I It was never my intention to become a therapist or a counselor or whatever. And I was doing some volunteering at a centre that we helped set up. And because we would do befriending, we had to take the level two and bereavement and loss courses and that was all I was going to do. And then I was working as a sort of development officer in an organization where they had counselors, not actually qualified counselors, they called counselors who help people coming off prescribed medication. And one day, one of the counselors, Arnie, came in and said he was applying to John Moore's to do his diploma, postgrad diploma. And I thought, well, that sounds a good idea. And that was the start of the journey. Changed my career path totally. Mm.
Mm, okay. And you went on to teach counselling. How did that happen?
Again, really, probably by accident. I was at John Moore's, I did my postgrad, did my masters, um and Barbara Smith, who was the leader of the counselling courses at the local college, um, asked if I would go and teach with her.
Mm,
So I started off by sort of shadowing her and just gradually built up a teaching practice. And then I was at John Moore's doing my masters, and they asked me to teach on the psychology degree and psychotherapy, and that was it really.
mm, mm. So let's come on to living your life purpose. And what does that mean to you right now?
I think for me, after I suppose many years, I mean, in my teenage years, I was very much as a lot of people do. What is the meaning of life? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? And I was always sort of fascinated by the fact of because the world, if you look at it, nature and all the rest of it, is phenomenal, isn't it? How did that all come into being?
Mm,
And that was a question that fascinated me as a teenager. Um, and I always felt that if we're only supposed to be here for three score and ten, what a waste.
mm,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And I thought there's got to be something else because
something
this
more than
world is
that.
just,
Hmm.
yeah, it just, when you look at it, the intricacies of it, that everything sort of, you know, combines to provide sustainable life for each other, and whether food chain and whether people that eat the food chain.
Mm,
So that was probably the start of it, and I studied metaphysics and the esoteric for many years as well.
mm, mm-hmm.
When I life took over from about the late teenage, probably until about early 30s, and then I started to start looking into it a lot more.
Yeah. And was there a particular moment when you knew you'd found your soul's calling?
I'm not sure about a particular eye-opening movement. I think it was probably more gradual. I think during therapy, when I started my counseling training, obviously part of that is doing your own therapy, and um, but also I think studying metaphysics and things like that with the Rosicrucians was a philosophical organization
Mm-hmm.
whose teachings are really quite profound. And I think it's when things sort of resonate with you. Have
Mm,
you ever sort of? I'm sure a lot of people listening to this will probably identify with it. You sort of read something and it sort of catches you in here. Yeah, I know that.
yeah. Mm,
So I think it was a gradual process of teaching and my private practice. When you work with people, I think you realize after a while what your life purpose is. It's like, and I felt so comfortable in that role, if you like,
Yeah.
or just being with somebody in that therapeutic space, connecting with them at some sort of level, and just feeling that I was being who I was supposed to be.
Ah, yeah. That recognition that you're in
Yeah,
the right place.
and I think when you're in the right place and you're doing what you're meant to do, it comes relatively easily. And it's almost as if I know I find myself after a number of years of practice, um, I would find myself just sort of saying things spontaneously, um, when I was either working with students or working with, clients or whatever it might be.
Mm.
Um, and it just feeling right. It felt that it just would just come from the heart or from some place where there was some form of innate wisdom,
Yeah.
I've learned to trust.
It was Plato, I believe, who said all knowledge is remembering. Can you relate to that sentiment?
Absolutely. And I think, as I say, it was almost by accident that I got into the counseling fraternity, if you like.
Yeah.
Just that one interaction with Arnie in an office, I said, "Oh, I think I'll apply for John Moore's as well," and that was it. And but yes, and I just found that when I was um, during my training, it came relatively easily. I just felt that, and some of the things that I would be saying in my private practice, and then I'd read a book. The book would be saying the same thing.
Mm.
All of those things, and
So
I
you had
think
those synchronicities.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Mm.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, what did the path to purpose look like? Was it clear or was it messy or magical?
I think it was clear.
Mm.
I think it was clear in as much as when I worked with clients or read something, there was a sort of a resonance. There was a sort of a connection. There was a feeling of yes, this is me. This is right. Um, not always, but when you had that, and I learned over the years to uh, connect with it and to go with it and to believe in it. So I
Mm.
learned to believe that if things came out, you know, that they were meant to be, that it came from some form of inner inner source of knowledge, really.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah. And what's one challenge you had to overcome in order to fully live your life purpose?
I think for me, and I've thought about this really a lot because it's something I've had to work on, over the years in either my own therapy or just my own reading, reflections, journaling, meditations. And I think I think it can be extraordinarily difficult to not conform.
Mm.
Think I think as human beings, we need to be accepted, we need to be loved, and I'm no exception.
Mm.
Looking at me and thinking, well, who is she?
Mm.
Who does she think she is? And so there were many years where I was sort of, no, not the word secretly, sort of using the knowledge and practices that I had been learning in my journey of looking at the metaphysical and the innate wisdom that we all have,
Mm.
but not using it openly, should we say, for
Mm.
fear of people mocking me or thinking I was a bit loopy
Hmm.
or all of those things. I think that's probably one of the biggest things I had to overcome and be able to speak what I was believing without fear of being ostracized or mocked or
So stepping into your own authority and
mm,
not relying on other people to affirm you.
yeah, absolutely. And I think I've virtually overcome it, but I'm not saying there are still not where, I don't want people to particularly mock me, a bit loopy,
Well, who
or
does? Who does?
hopefully. Um, and I think that's because we live in a world where we're a pack animal. And I always say
Mm,
this to my students, we
mm,
are a pack animal. And
mm,
as a pack animal, we want to belong.
yeah.
And in order to belong, we feel we need to conform to the standards of the culture or society that we're
Mm,
actually in, or
yeah.
family
Mm,
structures. And I think that can be hard for a lot of.
yeah. Indeed. Um, and what lights you up about the work you do now?
I think that's an easy one to answer. I think when you work with people, and I think my calling was to work with people because well, you have to love people, believe in them.
Mm,
And I think that's why I resonate with counseling, because there has to be a belief in the authenticity of everyone, and that
mm,
everyone wants to achieve their potential, and everyone's perhaps fighting against um, belief systems and structures that we're born into.
mm.
And so, yeah, I think I'm trying to think what your original question was now, so I make sure I'm answering it.
What
Uh,
lights you up most about the work you do
yeah,
now?
yeah. And it's when you work with someone and you see them make those changes, whether you're working
Mm,
with someone on a one-to-one basis or with a group of people or a group of students, whatever it
yeah.
might be. Just seeing people sort of get to the stage where they realize that they need to do something different for themselves in order to feel authentic, in order to live their true selves.
Mm,
And that can be so difficult to overcome that because we're all sort of programmed into these belief systems that says, well, we need to do this, that, or that.
yeah.
We need to be this or that. So when
Yeah.
I see people in that struggle quite often to let go of those, erroneous belief systems quite often
Yeah.
and embrace their authentic self. It's lovely. It's lovely to watch that process.
And of course, in therapy training, we're presented with a new system of beliefs.
Mm,
And,
yeah.
and what's the process of nurturing a new therapist in navigating this new set of beliefs and a new identity?
I think I think it's all about awareness. I always say there's
Mm,
three A's. There's awareness of why I've been doing what I've been doing because I'm not happy about it, because there's something inside me that's really not happy.
mm,
I'm not living to my own, being fulfilled in what I'm doing with this life, but I don't know what
yeah.
else I can do. Um, it's actually recognizing that perhaps the set of beliefs that we take on board from family,
Mm,
from family systems, from society, education, religion, whatever it might be, isn't working for you, doesn't feel right for you. And recognize that's what's making me unhappy. When we're not
mm,
authentic,
yeah.
it leaves us being disgruntled, I think.
And can that happen to a therapist too when you find you're in a modality
Oh,
that doesn't really sit with you?
absolutely,
Mm,
absolutely. And I think that the training of therapists has got to be about each therapist as an individual finding their authentic self.
mm,
I'm not there to push one particular modality. I think the training of therapists for me has to be about trying to facilitate people, students, whatever, finding their authentic self and who they are meant to be. And if they get in touch with that part of themselves,
mm,
they'll be good counselors
yeah.
because, they're being
Okay.
authentic. And
Yeah.
that's what I say. It's all about finding your authenticity and living it as much as.
Mm, okay. And what practices or anchors help you stay aligned with your purpose and that authenticity, particularly when life gets busy or overwhelming?
And I think Yeah, I think it's an interesting question because quite often, especially as therapists, we know what we need to do for ourselves. You know, I know that I should perhaps go into personal therapy on a regular basis, which I do, by the way. But um, I know take advantage of the clinical supervision. I know do some meditation because I know when I meditate and take some space, just to be, just to be in a space,
Mm,
without having to do or be something else. Um, and I think, and I'll own this for myself. I don't do it enough quite often.
mm-hmm,
Um, and I think, but when I do, then I can cope. I can cope because life happens. We know we all experience uh, very, very difficult situations in life. That's part of being human and living in this world, isn't it?
mm,
And that's why I think when we're working with therapists or anybody on the their own journey, it's really important to say, find what works for you because we're all slightly different. You know, for me, having a quiet space just to be with my thoughts and perhaps a journal and a pen and paper, um, and to listen, to listen to, I mean, podcasts, for example, like yours, so that I can sort of resonate with
mm,
what I feel to believe to be true and the way a way of being, as Carl Rogers says in his book,
mm,
and to
mm,
be surrounded by people on a similar ilk. And that's why quite often going to workshops. Recently did one with you, Dennis, breath work,
mm,
which again is something else that I really, really love to do and gave me a really good sense of grounding and a good sense of peace, at
mm.
the end of that.
Yeah, yeah,
Finding
great.
what works for you in that sort of setting. And the
Mm,
other thing is putting it in your diary if need be,
mm.
not wait until you've crashed out somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Diarising that self-care.
Absolutely. And I think I often say to people, put it in the diary. It may
Yeah.
sound mad, right? I'm going to put it in the diary now. I'm
Mm,
going to have 6 hours not doing anything or
mm,
meditation.
yeah.
I listen to meditative every day. I wake up
Mm.
with it. I sleep with it, and I wake up with it.
Right. So, what are you currently learning or being initiated into as a purpose-led soul right now?
If there's any one thing, I continue to listening to the podcast is really helpful for me because there's
Mm,
so many out there that I can listen to, resonate with. Um, I continue to do my reading. I think it is just connecting with like-minded souls, really.
mm-hmm,
Going on, I find for me, I love going on workshops, even if it's just a few hours workshop, meeting other
mm,
people,
mm,
keeping me grounded, keeping me with that sense of connection um, to who I am and what I want to be and where I want to go and what I want to
mm,
do.
mm-hmm, yeah,
Connection with other like-minded.
yeah. And
Take
if you could share
take
one message with other soul seekers walking the path, what would it be?
take time to listen to your inner voice. Take the time to
Mm-hmm,
because we all have it. And I think for me, when I listen to my inner voice, things go well.
mm, yeah,
What I've learned, especially probably the last 8 years, I would say, there's been some big lessons for me. When I haven't listened to my inner voice, things have gone wrong.
mm, mm-hmm,
And when I know what I have done is when I've been more in, I don't know, uh, the physical, practical realities of living in this world, and I've made a sort of a rationale of this is what I need to do, you know, and I've sort of followed it
mm,
and pushed against even obstacles that have come up.
mm,
And I've because I've made this sort of rational decision, I'm like, this is what you've got to do, Joe, to get this sorted. And I've ignored that inner voice that it was saying. And I look back and I could sort of kick myself. And I say, Joe, if there's resistance to what you're planning to do, you need to listen to the resistance and say, perhaps I'm not meant to do this, Joe.
Yes, yes,
And I push ahead and I push ahead,
yeah.
not listen to that inner
Yeah,
authenticity.
the channeled entity Bashar, he talks about green light synchronicities and red light
Yeah,
synchronicities. And the red light ones are the blocks that keep coming.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
telling you, no, this isn't the
yeah,
way.
absolutely. And given all the years I've been doing this, it was probably about 8 years ago now, I think. Yeah, about 8 years ago. And again, I pushed for about 2.5 years, trying to push the agenda that I thought should be happening.
Mm, mm,
And with dire consequences, not
yeah,
just for me, but for
yeah.
others as well. And I look back and I think, Joe, have you not learned
And
anything?
it's
It's you.
exhausting, isn't it? Pushing
Yeah,
against the tide.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just, I think the other thing is you need to recognize the signals, like as you say, recognizing the red light resistance.
Mm,
And during that time, I think probably because I had a stressful few years, and so I think when we're under stress, and life gives us stress, doesn't it, to a certain extent. I think I sort of thought, right, this is the way out, this is the plan, and I'm just going to follow it.
mm,
And
mm.
I didn't listen to the red light
Yeah,
resistance
yeah, yeah.
and say, stop. And I wasted 2 years, apart from all the stress that entailed.
Mm.
Mm.
So it was an expensive lesson in that
Yeah,
regard. But sometimes the expensive lessons are really the ones that bring the teaching home, aren't they?
a- absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. We learn more from, in a way, negative experiences than good
mm,
ones. And I think,
yeah.
I think for me, it's that getting in touch with who you really are
Mm,
and keeping that connection open. And I think all the different exercises that we can do, that you and I do on the retreats that we do, it
mm,
helps keep that connection open.
yeah.
Because when we go back into the physical life that we lead,
Mm,
surrounded by this is what you should do. Why aren't you doing this? And da 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 da. And it can close that. I think it's the
yeah.
practices
Mm,
and interaction with other like-minded people that
mm,
helps keep that connection open.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, you mentioned the retreat, and I'd like to move on to ask some questions about our work together creating retreats. So, what inspired you to co create this retreat together with me?
Yeah, well, one, I love working with you. We've known each other many years now, and I love the work
Mm,
that you do and the way you work with people, with all that sort of sensitivity, holding that space for me to watch. And I think it was having spent so many years either on a one-to-one or with students. What I've always really wanted to do was to be able to reach a wider audience,
mm,
so that you don't just have to be doing counseling training in order to benefit from the training practices that we teach
yeah.
on counseling training.
Mm,
So to get that wider audience, and I think the way that the world is going as well, I just think if more people just can get in touch with their authentic inner self, which is a lot of strength in that as well.
mm,
So that I think is the message that I really want to give out, just to get it out there more so.
yeah. Yeah. Mm,
And then those people will sort of make a difference in their world, as
yeah.
we change ourselves and get in touch with our authentic self, we give permission to the people around us to do the same.
Yeah, there's a ripple effect.
Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And in the healing and coaching world, what are you noticing when it comes to burnout and overwhelm?
I mean, this is it, isn't it? I really have noticed that a lot, and I think one of the issues with being a therapist or someone who is in a caring profession in some way. And also, people starting up their own business. A lot of people have been starting it since COVID, been
Mm,
starting up their own business. I think a lot of the people are moving more towards working for themselves or in therapeutic ways, but
mm,
expanding it into a sort of purpose-led business as well.
mm,
Um, and I think that's what I've noticed is that so many people, I think the stresses on us, especially since COVID, have been immense. And I don't think we even realize the impact that that has had on so many people.
mm,
And there seem to be less resources available for people to access.
mm,
I mean, before COVID, we used to have lots of workshops, lots of different retreats and things. Um, some ways there's a lot more because there's a lot online,
mm,
but online doesn't always hack it that much.
mm.
And I think it's that one-to-one, face-to-face interaction
Yeah,
that has been missing since COVID, and I think people are feeling it and being stressed by it,
yeah.
feeling alone, and technology. The number of times I walk around and I just see people not looking up, not looking at each other, not talking to each other. They're just glued to whatever's in their hand.
Mm,
So I think that's what's missing the sort of the personal interaction.
yeah, yeah.
I think online has its place. Don't get me wrong, and it's here to stay, and it can be very useful. But I think if we lose that connection with people on a face to face in order to keep us grounded, keep us our authentic self,
Mm,
and
yeah,
healthier mentally, emotionally.
yeah. And have you personally experienced burnouts? And if so, what did it teach you?
Yeah, I have. I thought I quite enjoyed lockdown because I quite like my own space, but I'm a
Mm,
very social creature as well. I need to be with people as well. Um, and I think there was a day when I was still doing appointments and all that sort of thing. Just one day where I just felt I just couldn't cope. Um, and I ended up just driving and parked up in a sort of a lay-by with a lovely, right next to a lovely sort of field, big open
mm,
space. Um, and just thought I can't do this anymore.
mm,
It was just, it was an awful feeling of overwhelm, and I thought I can't do it. I can't do this anymore. I
mm,
couldn't phone anyone. I mean, my husband was literally 10 minutes down the road.
mm,
Couldn't even phone him. I was immobilized in my car. The horrible, horrible feeling as if I couldn't go on anymore.
mm,
And I don't mean
mm,
wanting to kill myself or anything. I just meant
mm.
I thought I can't carry on like this.
Yeah, yeah.
My resources had just all gone.
Mm,
That was a horrible feeling. Mm.
mm. And what did that teach you?
It taught me that I wasn't looking after myself enough.
Mm,
I
mm-hmm,
thought because I think I'm a pretty strong person. Well, I know I'm a pretty strong person, and I thought, how did I get to that stage where I was virtually on the throes of a real full meltdown,
mm,
breakdown,
mm-hmm,
and 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 I say I am strong. I've been through quite a lot in life to a certain extent. Um, but it was that feeling that I've got to that stage without,
yeah,
as better as a
the
therapist.
sound
What
cut out there. So the feeling that, what feeling was it?
how did I manage to get to that stage where I was
Yeah,
virtually breaking down
yeah.
without noticing?
Well, that's the perfect segue into the next question. Why do you think it's so hard for space holders to prioritize their own healing?
And I think it's because we are helping others so much. Some people you might be also helping people at home in their own
Mm,
families. Um, whether you're a therapist or whether you're a coach or a therapist or um, or even, we've talked about entrepreneurs as well, because entrepreneurs starting up their own business, especially since
Mm,
COVID, they're so busy getting that business down.
yeah.
Again, they haven't had the therapeutic experience that we have had in order to
Mm.
recognize.
And even when we have it, we
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 don't
don't
recognize
often
it.
do it.
Yeah.
Mm,
And I think that's so true. I've seen lots of therapists like that. I remember being in a workshop with somebody once, um, and there's this person, and a very experienced therapist, and she was saying, "Well, I don't know why I'm not going to have any time over Christmas. My diary's full, and da 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 da."
mm,
I remember saying to her, "Well, why haven't you crossed out time in your diary?
mm,
You put appointments in it. Where's
mm,
your appointment in there?"
mm,
And I
yeah.
remember I said, do you want to give me your diary, and I'll put some time out for you?" And she actually let me, and she'd never met me before.
Mm,
She actually let me take her diary, and I crossed off, and right, what are you doing this day? And I crossed off in a diary, put her name in it, time for
mm,
me, time for me,
yeah.
time for me. But how often do we do that?
Yeah. And I think therapy attracts people who have a tendency to rescue other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that part of the Cartman drama triangle can become a rut that we keep on rescuing others and neglect our own needs.
Yeah, we forget that we also need rescuing at times.
Mm.
Absolutely, that's
Or
what you're right.
empowering ourselves
Yeah,
and yeah, and
yeah, I think
stepping
that
into that power.
yeah, and I know that's why we set up the local empowerment centre many many
Mm.
years ago. Because
Yeah.
I think even when I look back as a school child, I used to sort of help the other children,
Mm. Yeah.
motivate people, just to watch people. But then, as you say, we can forget ourselves in that as well.
Mm.
So
Mm.
easy.
Yeah.
Mm.
And what's one thing you hope each guest will take away from this retreat?
I think having a space where you can actually get back in touch with that that inner you that is all knowing.
Mm.
If you just listen to it, but you've got to
Yeah.
give it space to listen.
Mm.
So get back in touch with that. Get in touch with that authentic self of you, of yours. And I think sometimes we need the techniques that we do on these retreats. There are certain techniques that you can use for yourself. And that's what I love about it, because teaching people techniques that they can take away
Mm.
and use and integrate into their own world, into their own lifestyle,
Yeah.
in order to keep them on the path. And I think that's what's really important about it.
Mm. Mm.
Getting in touch and finding ways of keeping ourselves in touch with that.
Yeah. And what kind of space are we creating on this retreat? How will it be? How will it feel to be there?
I mean, this is why I love going on workshops and retreats myself, because it's like there's a book called Homecoming, isn't there? But it's a bit like homecoming, a feeling of um, being in the right place, surrounded by the right people,
Mm.
where my shoulders go down. I can just relax, thinking. Uh, you've got to feel safe. So it's that creating a feeling of safety and security,
Mm.
um, to let go of all the roles that we throw on ourselves, out there in the world. And
Mm.
sometimes there's so many roles that demand so much of us, that by getting that space where we can really explore and be facilitated to explore. I think that's the
Mm.
secret. Sometimes it's hard to do it for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need someone else to facilitate. The
Yeah.
important thing about the retreats, really.
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. And what can someone expect over the 3 or 4 days that they spend with us?
I think really it's entering into a safe community, um, going through some of the practices and the exercises, um, that you promote, in order to, I suppose, identify. This is what I would have wanted, those years ago when I was having burnout and making those wrong, where you can actually sit down and say, what am I doing in my life right now that's not
Mm.
working? And why am I doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I doing that? Because when I really look at it, I know it's not good for me. I know it's not taking me anywhere. I know it's stressing me out. I know it's making me feel unhappy.
Mm.
I call it a velvet lined rut. But
Mm-hmm.
how do I, one, recognize it and then manage to, how do I get out of that velvet?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's learning ways and having the support in order to do that. We all have those belief systems that we take on board from childhood.
Mm.
And the problem is, yes, they kept us safe in childhood because that's what they're designed to do. But when we become an adult world, they don't serve us.
No.
But because they're so ingrained, we don't even recognize that actually these are very unhelpful for me now.
Mm. What kind of beliefs are we talking about?
Well, things like I must, I've got to conform.
Mm.
Um, Even sort of going to university or pursuing a particular career because, well, that's my father was a doctor,
Yeah.
or yeah, my father just basically said, just get yourself an apprenticeship, a skilled worker, then you'll always get work, or
Mm-hmm.
just get into a shop. You need to start earning money, or
Yeah.
go into the army, whatever it is that your family structures, some sort of belief system that you've inherited.
Mm.
You It would have given you some sort of um, consolation or sense of acceptance because you're conforming to other people's belief systems, and you don't actually realize at the time that they're not yours.
Mm. Mm.
um so I think that that's the secret, isn't it? Is about finding out what worked for other people that doesn't actually work for you,
Mm.
then having the ability and the courage in some ways to stand up and say, do you know what, I'm sorry, but this doesn't work for me. It
Mm-hmm.
might work for you.
Yeah.
It isn't actually who I am. And I need to get back into touch with who I think I really am, and be more authentic.
Yeah. Who's this retreat for, and how does someone know if it's calling them?
I think I think it can be for anyone who is feeling overwhelmed a little bit, who's feeling that they may have lost their way a little bit, or have a little niggling voice that says, do you know, this is not working for you, or I need
Mm.
help. But how
Mm.
do I ask for help? Because I don't, I'm strong, I'm a
Mm.
strong person. I don't need to ask for help, or, I've just got to get on with it and do it. Um,
Mm.
so just perhaps just take a bit of space to recognize, do you really need to have a look at what is actually going wrong rather than try and make it right, which is what I was doing, those years ago. I was just trying to make it right and trying to sort it out,
Mm.
but doing it in completely the wrong way. Um, so I think for anyone who feels that way, who
Mm.
feels I'm getting tired, I'm getting a bit overwhelmed, or want just to check out, am I doing the right thing for myself?
Yeah. And we've aimed it particularly at therapists, coaches, healers, entrepreneurs, haven't we?
Mm,
And because they often don't take that self care.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as I think, as you said before, people that get into this work um, are often rescuers. I
Yeah.
find that, and I'll hold my hand up. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, now, but used to be, um, and uh, and because of that, you feel that your reason for being in a way help others, and that's great.
Yeah.
Problem is, it gets out of balance,
Mm. Sure.
and we just
Yeah.
go too far the other
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. And
And
the other problem that many coaches and therapists have is finding clients, isn't it? That we spend
mm,
all this money and time training, and then often the rewards aren't commensurate with the investment. So that's why we teamed up with Dave Marshall to provide marketing support.
I think that's a really, really good thing to put. I'm glad you brought that up because what I found, I mean, I've been in my own business for, oh, I don't know, well, private practice for 28 years. And before that, I did training as well, and I did a training business. Um, and what I found now is so many people now, especially since COVID, are trying to set up in private practice, perhaps
Mm,
even run workshops themselves.
yeah.
But a lot of people, we don't have that business head.
Mm,
And we have a sort of a block that says, I'm here to help people. How can I charge the proper rate for it? And
mm,
so, and I was like that. Well, you've often talked to me about about that anyway, haven't you?
mm,
But and I think that's really quite common. And
yeah.
I think one of the best things I've done is to get help and support from actually saying, if you want to reach people, you want to reach out to people to help them,
Mm,
that actually you perhaps need some other guidance other than your therapeutic world. Like someone like David who can say to you, and he's built up a lovely spiritual practice himself. And I
mm,
think it's a lovely combination. The fact that he's built up a spiritual, soulful community.
yeah.
So he's on that track, but he's
Mm,
also got that business head that you and I lack, and a lot of therapists lack, and to give us that sense of direction and how to have that exchange of energy
mm.
in order to for us to fulfill what we want to do.
Well,
Because
that's a good point. That a therapeutic relationship is an energy exchange.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think we forget that, and people think that money is not great in this, when you're trying to help someone.
Hmm.
It's energy. That's all it is. It enables
Yes.
you to go forward and carry on the work you're doing.
Yes. And making a payment is an energetic step, isn't it? It shows your commitment to your own transformation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think probably the biggest lesson for me is to make that transition.
Hmm.
Whereas for many, many years it was like, oh, and you ask most therapists or coaches or whatever, um, the idea of taking money for doing the work is it feels really,
Mm.
very
Yeah.
uncomfortable. But if
Yeah.
you see it as an exchange of energy, because that's what it
Mm.
is,
Yeah.
and the fact that you just said, do you know what, this is going to help me help other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I see it as an entry fee into a new existence.
Mm, yeah, yeah. One that's more authentic, one
Mm.
that's, and when you're authentic, life actually becomes easier. I'm not saying life experiences become easier,
Mm.
but your position in this often physical, materialistic world becomes easier to navigate, I think.
Yeah. And we've covered this a bit already, but in case there's anything we've missed out, what do you feel is the deeper medicine of this retreat beyond just rest?
Beyond just what? Sorry,
Rest.
rest. Uh, I think it's far more than rest. I think it's far more than rest. It's the feeling when you experience getting in touch with the authentic part of you is a feeling of, for me anyway, it's not just rest, it's more than rest. It's a feeling of peace, it's a feeling of well being, it's a feeling of, I just feel right. And I
Mm.
feel got the energy to be in this particular world.
Mm.
Yeah, even if
Mm.
the materialistic work isn't going well, I feel um, I have a sense of being able to cope with the materialistic world, if you like.
Yeah. Yeah. And if
Yeah.
someone's on the fence or feeling guilty about taking time for themselves, what would you say?
Well, I understand the thing about feeling guilty for the time you're taking for yourself. I can resonate with that. But the reality is that you will do far better work when you've rested, you've taken time for yourself. An example for me, what I used to do, I'd be at home, and for me, part of what I used to do to try and sort of get a bit of respite or whatever it was. And I just buy some just magazines, just non-entity. It wasn't anything, and I just
Mm.
sit and read it with a cup of tea. But I'd be sat on the edge of the couch, so I didn't really rest because there'd be part of me saying, "Oh, I should be doing this or I should be doing that. I shouldn't really be resting." And life got better when I would just say, "Right, sit back. I am taking an hour out,"
Mm.
or "No, I'm going to that workshop on Saturday because I know it's going to be." Because what happens, I think a lot of people do what I used to do. You pretend to take a bit of time out, but you weren't really resting because you're
No.
really thinking, I should
Yeah.
be doing that, da, 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 da. And there are people that go on their mobile phones,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
emails. And I think coming to a retreat like this, it's like it puts you in that bubble where you are going to rest, yes, but you're going to be able to offload, to recognize what you're doing that's not helpful for you
Mm.
or your clients or whoever or your
Mm.
business or whatever you're
Yeah.
doing,
Yeah.
and take that time out. You get it back many fold, and learn. The other thing for me is learning the techniques that you take away with you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Integrate it
Yeah.
into your way of being.
Yeah, and now if people are still not sure, they can book a chat with you, can't they? And talk about
Yeah,
what their expectations are, what their hopes are, and
absolutely,
resolve any questions they have. And
absolutely.
yeah, and
Yeah, no,
that's,
and I think that's really important because just as all your clients are very different and individual or students or whoever it is, um, I think having that space to talk to either myself or you, I'm always happy to talk to anyone,
yeah,
whether it's a student applying for a course or wondering, well, what is the retreat like? What can I expect?
yes, yeah.
What are people are often a bit scared of them sometimes.
Yeah, of course, they can find all the information at awakenyourinnerpower.com/retreat and
Hmm.
book a slot with you for a chat if they want more
Yeah,
information.
absolutely. I mean, have a phone call initially, or you want to do a Zoom and have a face to face, that's fine as well.
Mm,
Um, I think, yeah, and I know you're the same ilk. I think it's really important to give people the space to ask any questions before investing in the retreat. And I want we want to make sure that people go away feeling nourished and refreshed, you know, with tools that are going to help them live their best lives, sort of things, so that they can also help
yeah,
others. So I want to make
absolutely.
sure that it's going to be helpful for you. I don't want people coming on the retreat and thinking, well, this wasn't really for me.
Yeah, yeah, we want the right people there.
Yeah, we want to make sure that they're going to get the best out of it.
Mm, okay. Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us in this heart expanding conversation. And listeners, if today's episode resonated with you, if you're a coach, a therapist, a healer, or an entrepreneur, giving and giving, and you're craving space to rest, restore, and reconnect with yourself, then we'd love to invite you to join us in person. Our retreat, Awaken Your Inner Power, was created just for you. It's a sacred space to pause, to receive, and to come home to your body and your purpose. The early bird offer closes 30th of September, so if this speaks to you, now is the time to say yes. You can find all the details and book your spot at awakenyourinnerpower.com/retreat. Until next time, keep following your soul, trusting your path, and sharing your light. You're not alone on this journey. Bye bye.
Okay.